Hi, I'm Andy. I'm the membership manager of What We Do Now. What We Do Now is a creative placemaking network in Dumfries and Galloway. Really happy to be here with Angie, Sarah and Alice, and we're going to talk about the art cabin in Lochside.
Lest they be forgotten, keep them.
So Angie, could you tell us a little bit about your story, how you became involved with this, how you started this and so on?
So I started Lift in 2016. I'm Lochside born and bred, and in the papers at the time we were classed as being a deprived, horrible area to live in. And I didn't want my kids being brought up with that stigma, so I got a few parents together and we created a very small community group with Big Burn Supper. Started doing litter picks and some lantern making and just some creative stuff, and there was about 50 people came to it. And then when Big Burn Supper finished in the January, the residents came to me and said, please can we continue doing it. February 2016 we became a constituted group, and we've kind of grew from there, and then became a kick in 2019, and now we are one of the biggest anchor organisations in North West Dumfries.
Right. And how many of the original people are still involved other than yourself?
Me.
It's just you?
Yep. I'm the one that's carried it from the beginning to the end.
So in terms of the art cabin that we're in now, what's the importance of Lift's presence for this, and how they're working with like the local artists like Alice and so on?
So Lift has never really had a creative branch, if you like. We've got 2 local shops and we've got offices. We've never done anything really creative apart from lantern making.
Right.
But when the What We Do Now came to us with this opportunity of joining, it was a no-brainer joining them, getting local artists in. And when the local artists started, I had a vision of local artists doing painting, as in fixing the fences and like painting kind of like hopscotch and stuff like that, wasn't it? Until I actually done the interviews and met Alice. It was an experience.
She's quite a character.
Yes, very. So Alice, Rosie and Andy came with absolutely amazing ideas, and I just knew that we needed that in the community. So what went for painting fences and putting out outdoor taps on the flats has gave us an art cabin, and all the projects that we've had run for that, it has been absolutely fantastic.
And how have the artists helped with the way that you give local people a say in the project, and like how has that worked?
We've done quite a few open days and stuff, haven't we? And done, which is community consultation, but it's been fun. So it is, they went and made a big tent, a pop-up tent that we could put anywhere in the green spaces in Lochside, encourage people to come along, and they even made a baked tatty oven, which was great.
Wheel hub.
So we were feeding folk and talking to them, and then doing like creative portraits and things like that, which Wayne here didn't have opportunities to do, or didn't believe that they could do stuff like that.
And adults.
Oh, and adults.
Mm.
So when we engaged with them and showing them what the artists and that were got to do, and they loved it, absolutely loved it, and kept coming back.
Is it mainly younger people, or is it a mix? Or?
So if you look from Lift's point of view, we engage with the younger ones because it's more grassroots stuff for us, but the artists are interested in working with the adults and the young adults that are living in our community.
And what have you seen coming out of the work, like all these different workshops and so on that you've done? What's been the sort of output from this?
There's been actually quite a bit that I can't even think about talking about, because there's been that much. One of the things that stands out for me is when the artists first started was, and I think it was maybe 2022, they went into the schools and they brought kids to our office space, and had them in the big gym hall, didn't he? And they got them painting self-portraits, but using, if they were right-handed, they got to use like their left hand.
Right.
And they went and done these big portraits, and we still exhibit them.
Yeah.
Yes, we still exhibit them up at the office, so we do. Having some output stuff like that is great for us. We love it. And then I know the kids can then look back on, actually we done that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really important. And I've seen some of the plans that you've got for the future. So could you just give us a bit of an overview of what the long-term plan is?
So the long-term plan here, my 10 to 20-year vision, is we hopefully get offices based down here at the cabin. We would like to work from this whole space. There's future plans for a garden project. We're working with Wheatley Homes South. They own the land. So we're doing a garden project. We're going to be running a women's woodwork project. But Alice can talk about all that. There's a few projects, but again, I am the artistic or creative that way, and that's why I heavily rely on these guys coming with the ideas and the passion for it, because they're bloody geniuses. That's on camera now, so.
So, like, what would be the next steps practically for you, like, to get this plan into place? You mentioned some of the things like the garden project and so on, and the woodworking. What are the practical next steps for you over the next, to get this 20-year plan?
Well, I need to get my licence to occupy for Wheatley first, so that I can own the land, which would be amazing. And then all I need is funding, a lot of funding. To keep it going, because at the minute in this space we have, I think it's 3 or 4 people employed to work for this space. So again, funding has got to be absolutely instrumental in us being able to continue doing what we do.
And Alice, we've heard a little bit about what you've done here, and you're obviously very instrumental to all of this. Could you just give us an introduction into who you are and what you do?
I'm Alice. So I'm the lead artist for Lift. So I started with Rosie Giblin and Andy Brooke with what we do now in 2020, I think. Rosie will be coming back. Andy's moved on. What do I do?
She's a mischief maker.
All of it, everything from scrubbing the loo to getting people involved, to getting artists in residence, to just conceiving the projects really, and trying to get people involved.
So you do not only the strategic stuff, but you also practical and hands-on. You're doing everything.
So I've started the women's woodwork group, which is which is brilliant, ongoing group that will be part of the building for the community garden. So we've kind of this year we've got Arts Council funding, Creative Scotland funding, and it's split into 3 blocks, and now we're just beginning our second block. The first was Pride and Belonging. This one is officially Reflection and Projection. It's kind of moving in because of the garden being initiated. And everything weaving together, it's kind of moving into rooted in Lochside, I think. So it's about growing food and plants and taking control of land, communal land, and feeding ourselves, feeding the community in a good way. And it's also about portraiting the community. So so lots of different types of portraiting, from sound to photography to film to Sarah. Sarah's work.
We're going to come on to Sarah shortly. But in terms of the collaboration that you have with Lift, how have you seen that grown over the time you've been here? You started in 2022?
I think 2020.
2020.
We're not sure.
Yeah.
And then came in 22.
Right, okay. How have you seen the collaboration with Lift, and how has that
it's just grown stronger and stronger, actually. I mean, when we first started, we really didn't have a clue what we were doing, or sort of what our role could be. I think we came with an idea, Rosie and I, but landing on the ground, it was like, what are we supposed to be doing? Painting fences? And we tried to, integrate in the community and build trust and but it was hard because there wasn't anywhere to work.
Yeah.
There literally isn't a bench as far as you can see.
Yeah.
So we were on people's doorsteps going door to door. So then we made the tent and set up the pop-up events. And then the cabin. And I think the dream is for HQ, Lift HQ,
Lift
with ArtLAB incorporated and workshops and everything, to be on this spot. But also to be, I run a thing called Sisterwood at home, which is women's timber framing camps. So to do a kind of community build, to
Yes.
skill share throughout, so that we could do a community build, and a community build, like a building that is made of wood and
Yes.
stained glass and is beautiful and also destroyable, because we were always told at the beginning that you couldn't have a bench because it would be destroyed.
Right.
Nothing's been destroyed. And I think if people are included and have some sense of ownership about what's being built here,
Yeah.
it's precious.
Yes.
It's looked after.
And through that wood though, no, we have actually been building stronger partnerships.
Yeah.
So Jonesy's Sawmill for Lockerbie
Mhm.
have been instrumental in supporting us. They're the ones that have been donating the wood,
Mhm.
that the women's woodwork have been
Yeah.
using, like for the planters and stuff. So big shout out to them.
Yeah. And then also through doing something practical like woodwork and just building skills, because most of the women arrive saying that they can't do anything and they're really clumsy and whatever, and then 2 hours later they've built something beautiful and learned all the tools along the way. I think, we're just building a stronger sense of community and possibility, and also making spaces where people can communicate more deeply. And so then there are other kind of offshoot, bringing themselves, their sort of more hidden part of themselves, maybe to the portraiting or to working with Sarah, or and the third block will be called Tools for Self-Reliance, which are all kinds of tools. You can take that in on lots of different levels. So we've been doing working with a medical herbalist, and then doing sort of artistic interpretations from that, and then there'll be a community medicinal garden built into the garden, and it everything just sort of weaves in and feeds each other, every strand. It's quite amazing how it's happening, actually.
Aye.
And then builds. And
It's very organic,
It's fab.
and it seems like
Absolutely.
your role as an artist is evolving, I guess, alongside this project. It's changing, maybe.
yeah, and I think Angie's also got me from my mates, actually.
Ah,
Pulling in lots of talented folk, mostly from Galloway, but
She
not
has got the
only,
connections.
who've got, who are entrepreneurs and oddities, I would say,
and
who found amazing ways of surviving here.
because this is a long-term sort of project, what's what is it that's different? The fact that it's embedded and it's longer term rather than just a sort of shorter term interaction, I guess.
Do you mean what's different for me?
Yes.
Wow, it's really different.
The way you plan maybe and think about things, like the impact is not just a short-term impact.
Yeah, and it's slow and you have to be tenacious, but it's really rewarding. I mean, I was terrified when we got the job. I've never had a job for a year. Now,
Okay.
Ever.
five
She's
years later. Yeah.
It's great.
So,
So you've touched on some of the challenges, but like what would, looking back and the time you've been here, which I believe is from 2020, what would have been the biggest challenges for you that you've seen since you've been doing this?
She's going to be diplomatic here.
Yes.
am I?
This is going on YouTube.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know how to say it. I think authority has been my biggest challenge. Being allowed to do what we see is best. What we see, what the community say they want, and what we see is best and harmless and wonderful.
I think one of the things was,
I have to be very careful.
yes, when Alice started, we left. So when Lift started, as soon as we said we were doing something, it was done and seen right through to completion. The community loved it. And then when we started moving into the bigger stuff that didn't belong to us, get permissions to do stuff and relying on people that need to sort through red tape, it was very difficult for us. And Alice, being the wee anarchist that she is, was used to just getting on and doing it. But some stuff does hold us back, and it is a wee bit harder to deal with that, isn't it? Yes.
And you applied a metaphorical muzzle for some
It was
years.
metaphorical, just to clarify.
Just metaphorical. Yes. I wasn't physically looking on with off.
So we're going to have a chat with Sarah now. So Sarah is new, and we're really excited to have you here. I introduced to you last year and found out about this incredible work that you were doing in Hull. So Sarah, if you could introduce yourself and tell us about what you do.
So I'm Sarah, and I'm I've come up for a month, 6 weeks to be the artist in residence for the project. So I'm the first artist in residence. Really excited. So I've come from Hull, where I run Hull Artist Research Initiative, which is, again, a DIY arts project, which is working with artists, but also connecting to communities. My background is arts development as well, empowering communities and individuals is really important to what I do. So I applied for the project. I'm really excited to be up here. I'm going to be walking around the estate, talking to people, trying to gather their stories and memories about the place. And as a sculptor, a big part of my practice is, or a starting point for my practice, is often objects. So, like with teacups, to represent that idea of revolution and change that happens when we gather together with a brew and sort of put the world to rights, share advice, share knowledge, and that sort of thing. Also, kind of, I really like objects for their sort of symbolic strength and how they resonate, and they're quite often things that we all relate to. We all drink, we all eat off plates, we all open doors, you know, so whatever it is. Education eats on plates. Yeah, so I arrived yesterday. So I've just started.
So your first time in Dumfries?
It's not my first time in Dumfries. I came up with Union Arts. I'm on.
That's where we met.
That's how I met Alice, and she introduced me to this area when we came up to do a residential at Alice's place. And then I returned with Adrian Sinclair from Union Arts, Chapel FM, to speak to
what we do
now.
And that's where I met you.
About arts projects that kind of how arts projects can grow and evolve, I guess.
Great. And what attracted you to this project?
I really love the idea of being able to connect with residents from a place. So there's some commonality there, but understanding the different stories, the nuances of people's histories here, and also their aspirations for what comes next. So yeah, just really excited to see how I could work with individuals and with groups, what kind of objects I would find on the ground, but also what kind of objects they would bring to me and suggest. So it's kind of, it's fairly loosely evolving. We've got some places that I'm going to go and base myself in the school for a few days, and I'll be here so people can just come in and see me, but I'm also going out to the Focus Hub. Already connected up with about half a dozen people who are going to take me for a little wander round. So I guess that challenging myself to interpret or draw out the salient points from what they're saying, but also using transfer as a medium, but also helping them to transfer their ideas and their knowledge onto objects, or even onto the fabric of the building. One of the really exciting things is, in a way, there are no bounds, and we have talked about where actually out on the estate we can transfer images and words, and how we can place objects to turn the whole estate essentially into our museum of marvellous memories and moments. It might be using objects as a way of objecting about something, so perhaps the way that people are seen, or something to do with how life is here, but also it's about celebrating moments around the place, so kind of views that people enjoy. And as I've been walking around, I've been enjoying kind of like all these intersections of squares and sort of right angles, and then the occasional sort of random other shapes. So we're going to be looking for niches and going into some of the tower blocks and putting things in the corridors or high up, so people have got to look around. There'll be some work in here as well. I'm going to be making some things, so drawing out things that people have told me about their experience of living here, but also I'm getting people to do their own work. So we'll be transferring with the process that I've used, which is Transgrill, but also with emulsion, because that's a readily available household substance, so people can continue to do this sort of work if they want to. And I like the marrying of the household objects and the household paint as well, and then images that we find. So yeah, so far I've been walking around, I've found bolts and latches from gates and pipes and slates and all sorts of things. And I've only been here for a few hours. And people have also, Dee's been in and brought some things that we can work with. So the museum itself is not fixed in one place. It's a sort of peripatetic experience where people can stumble across additional moments of delight.
Sort of final thing I just wanted to ask, in terms of what we do now, how have they actually supported you guys within, you touched on it earlier, but how have they supported this project and hopefully helped you to overcome some of the challenges?
What we do now was massive support to me running this whole project, because they gave me mentorship and advice and guidance. I've no background whatsoever working with creatives or doing creative stuff, so when it came to that, what we do now was instrumental for me with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and as the artists, we also had mentoring and training and just continual support,
Right.
which has been great.
Okay,
And it carries on.
well, I'd like to thank you all for coming here today, or actually for me coming here today. I can't thank myself. So it's been really great, and look forward to seeing how everything pans out.
Brilliant.
Great.
Thank you.